in property. Oh, good point. Forgot that.
Can you start again?
Ah, so welcome to the Moneytree Mastery Property Show, which is always as smooth as silk, no hiccups whatsoever. We are Neil and Jacqui Dobson. We've been investing in property since 2018, and we both went full-time property in March 2020 and went straight into lockdown. So it's perfect timing, but actually that played right into our hands, and we 10x'd our business in the first year where we were full-time. So we implement all strategies, really. We've done a bit of everything. Very successful at money in, money out, buy to let, buy, refurbish, refinance, whatever you like to call them. We've done uplifts just through sheer planning gain and not built them out. We've also done, we're fully compliant deal sources. And obviously we've done flips, we've done new build now, which is on the market, sold subject to contract. So that's a nice start to the year. Need to make sure that one goes through. And now we're really getting focused on bigger and better deals. So with greater rewards, same amount of work really, but with bigger rewards. So we're looking at commercial conversions, developments on big scale, big money stuff, really to scale our property portfolio quicker. Tap into us. Anything you need to know, anything we can help you with, always get in touch. And I'm sure Jacqui, by the end of the show, will share every way that conceivable that you can get hold of us.
Absolutely will. Absolutely will. So thanks very much, everybody, for being with us today. In just a few minutes, Jake will be giving us mortgage and bridging news. So Jake, I'll give you like the heads up to get yourself prepared
Yeah,
now.
no problem at all.
And then Jake's going to be with us. Are you going to be with us actually for the whole show, for the whole hour?
Should be, yeah. Can't see
Yeah,
any reason why not.
brilliant.
So people can pick my brains as and when you need to.
Superb. So Jake will be putting his contact details. He is our Moneytree Mastery chosen mortgage broker. So if you're coming to our networking events, he will be there to see you. So you can book appointments to see him at the actual networking event, which is the last Wednesday of every month here in Colchester. Tickets are available online. Do a little plug there. And I will put the link into the chat. But yeah, Jake is going to tell us all what's happening in the mortgage world, what sort of best practices are. I'm going to big you up now, Jake, so you better perform.
That's fine.
So what best practices are, things to avoid, things that you need to have in place because the mortgages are becoming stricter and stricter on their criteria, and also knowing what the mortgage companies actually need to be able to go forward for an application. So Jake, over to you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Obviously, everyone's already introduced who I am and got company logos all above my head, so easy to see who I am. Mortgage overview. Obviously, throughout the last 2 years, ever since obviously the mini budget in 2020, end of 2022, obviously that's all its challenges. We started rebuilding from that October actual budget, obviously a few months back caused yet more turbulence in the buy-to-let and investment market across the board. Obviously, stamp duty changes drastically impacted things. So what that's caused is obviously a little bit of loss of progress in terms of swap rates and decreasing in overall average rates because they were going on a downward trend leading up to November last year. So in terms of the outlook for 2025, I think that's probably a good place to start in terms of where we think things will be going direction wise. Overall, yes, rates should drop. Obviously, base rate is expected to drop, albeit slower than originally forecast. I think it's going to be a bit more steady, but forecasts change on a fortnightly basis, it seems at the moment. So I don't typically provide predictions on that. But just working off of trends and lender conversations, which I have on a frequent basis, it does suggest hopefully on the average mortgage rates in the investment side will hopefully drop. I'm hoping between 1/4 to 0.5% overall, which isn't massive, but it is big when you look certainly for certainly for properties that have struggled potentially for remortgages recently because they're low yielding assets, benefit greatly from capital growth, but not necessarily actual rental yield. So they've struggled in recent years. So 0.25% alone makes a big difference on the affordability calculations. Although we saw a 13% increase in buy-to-let purchase mortgage lending throughout 2024, it is predicted that there will be a 7% drop in 2025 on buy-to-let purchases. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out why. Extra 2% surcharge, the stamp duty thresholds obviously reducing as well, renters reform bill, all those things, all negative things for us landlords, because I'm an investor myself. But it's not all doom and gloom, in my opinion. Like I said, lenders are improving products here, there, and everywhere. A lot of lenders adjusting criteria, exploring new kind of areas that they haven't done in the past. You've got more lenders in the holiday let space than there ever has been. If I look at the available lenders as of today, loan to values, obviously when the mini budget came out, all the 85% options completely went pretty much across the board. We now do have a few 80% options out there for those people that are looking to kind of maximize their kind of capital raising for their kind of short-term portfolio growth. And the rates aren't excessively more expensive than their 75% alternatives, which is obviously great news. And then that also kind of carries over into the bridging world, where a lot of people, if you're doing the buy, refurb, refinance, if you're stuck at 75% and you go down the route of retained interest, which means all the interest is essentially deducted on day one, your actual net loan, subject to which lender you go with, because some lenders will also deduct the arrangement fee. Only a couple actually allow the arrangement fee to be added. So by the time you've knocked off a 2% arrangement fee and your interest, quite often you're somewhere between 65 and 68% net loan. So you've got more deposit to have to worry about. So we've now actually got a few lenders offering up to 85% on a standard kind of residential bridging product. And then one of the lenders that kind of sits in the middle of those two that offers 80%, they've just dropped their rates by 0.10% per month across the board. So they're now pretty much the cheapest bridging lender available in the market, because it's the previous cheapest one. Their rates are 0.79% per month, up to 75% loan to value. This 80% lender is now 80% at 0.79% per month. So you get an extra 5% loan to value for the same cost, which is obviously great news for investors. So there's lots and lots of positive things out there. And as buy-to-let naturally is going to get impacted, it opens the door more for commercial or semi-commercial opportunities. And it's certainly something I've seen more of in recent times. And there's more and more lenders doing it now. Even buy-to-let lenders, to a certain extent, likes of Paragon Bank, Foundation Home Loans, very much your typical specialist buy-to-let lenders. They offer a form of semi-commercial option where they can't use the commercial value towards the mortgage calculations, but they will allow a semi-commercial asset to be included. So it saves you having to go down the route of title splitting, and if you don't want to get an expensive separate commercial mortgage and you're happy with 75% of the residential value, it provides a really good solution for a lot of people who are considering the semi-commercial side of things. So the fact that we're getting a lot more kind of specialist and kind of niche products coming to the market, it shows that lenders always, as they always have done, are adapting well to the market challenges that we are being that sort of face us essentially.
Superb. So because you've been in mortgages for how long now? How long have you been a mortgage broker?
7 years, near enough. In a couple of months' time, it'll be 7 years.
How have you seen the market change with sort of like its flexibility and its creativity between when you first started and how it is now?
Yes, that's a great question, to be fair. So obviously I came from a state agency and wanted to do something more specialist in property. So I joined a buy-to-let and investment specialist brokerage back in, like I said, 7 years ago, so 2018. And that was just when all the tax changes were happening for were coming into place for landlords, and all the HMO licensing changes basically were starting to come in. So obviously the tax changes were obviously not being able to offset as much of your mortgage costs anymore, which obviously spiked the need for limited company purchasing rather than personal name. So we've gone from the likes of BM Solutions, Coventry Building Society, the Mortgage Works, who mainly historically specialised in personal name borrowing, and obviously having a market share of the buy-to-let market as a result, obviously being impacted. We've started seeing incorporations become very prominent. So yeah, lots more lenders have basically entered the limited company space. As the HMO guidelines came into place with minimum room sizes, that actually gave lenders more confidence to lend on HMOs, because they've got those set guidelines that they can now follow a lot more accurately. So a lot more lenders came on board into the HMO space. Layered company structures, so where you may have your buy-to-let SPV company. So for example, J.K. Collins Investments is the one purchasing the buy-to-let properties, but you want, I think it's a tax efficiency strategy and stuff like that. So you have the actual shareholder as another holding company. More lenders, as obviously more people have started using that strategy from a tax perspective, again, more lenders have adapted to that. So again, it's all about when new regulation comes in, new strategies come into play, and there's more demand for certain types of letting, sort of aka holiday lets, HMOs. It causes lenders to have to adapt, thinking, okay, that's potentially a niche that we can explore. So also you get like a bespoke specialist lender start doing it. And then the more mainstream specialist lenders, they start seeing that and saying, oh, they're getting quite a bit of traction here. Okay, we'll explore that now. So they let other lenders test the waters first. And then they say, okay, we see what you're doing. We'll try and improve on that. And obviously, because we've got a larger market share on more traditional letting, we can then obviously offer better rates as well. So it's that the lenders use each other to a certain extent. And obviously COVID hit, obviously 2 years into me being a mortgage broker, and obviously killed the market for a few months to a certain extent, albeit Neil and Jacqui will say that was their gold mine years.
Best time ever, yeah.
But yes, that obviously that's what spiked the couple of years of the staycation, staying in the UK for your holidays because of all the COVID issues. So all of a sudden, holiday lets got a massive boom, and lenders realise, okay, our customers are probably going to do this without telling us. So why don't we actually change our criteria and adapt to it? So there's been a lot of changes, a lot of things that have impacted the market. Obviously, the main thing being COVID, but that actually improved the market because obviously base rate went to an all-time low. Mini budget last 2 years, let's face it, it has shocked a lot of people, certainly of the younger generation or the newer borrowers. Because not just saying that obviously the younger generation are the ones that haven't experienced historic excessively high interest rates, etc. But because you get a lot of people that haven't bought until they're in their 40s, 50s, being used to these 2% rates, all of a sudden getting 6% rates. For them, that's a massive hike. Historically, we're at the all-time kind of, if you look across the history of the last kind of 30 years, we're probably not far off the average mortgage rate at the moment. So it's not as bad as BBC News and Martin Lewis, money saving expert, want to try and scaremonger us into thinking that it's all doom and gloom.
No, I mean, let's face it, money isn't expensive, is it? It's just not what we're used to over the last 2 or 3 years.
We got spoiled for 6, 7 years.
So I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Have you seen, and if you have seen, what are your thoughts on the mortgage product that TSB are claiming they're going to launch, which is allowing tenants to buy properties off landlords below market value?
Ooh.
That's ridiculous. So we've got to discount them, and then the mortgage lender, TSB in this case, will lend, um, even if it's significantly below market value, which we've had experience where a product had been pulled because we were buying it too far below mortgage market value. So
Yeah.
it's
Most lenders have a
the tenancy.
10%, sometimes a 20% threshold on below market value
Yeah.
before they start saying, no, this isn't quite right here. So yeah, it's a tricky, it is a, obviously we
But
don't,
I don't know if you've seen it, but the nuts and bolts of it is that the landlords have to discount their property to existing tenants. So if you've got a tenant in place, and
came
we
out, yeah, it just
sell
came
it,
out a couple of days ago.
we've got to offer it to them below market value, at least 5% below realistic market value. But to be fair, I mean, depends
Where's
on the value of the
sorry, Neil.
property. Yeah.
Sorry, where does that come from?
So
That
the TSB have got a new mortgage
TSB have got a new
product.
mortgage product
Yeah.
now aimed at
yeah,
tenants.
but is it product that the TSB are launching that we can, as a landlord, offer it to tenants, or is there somewhere that's saying that we have to do that?
No, it's an
We don't have
You're just
to.
saying it's a product. It's just a
Product
product that's
available to
available,
the
and
tenant.
this
Yeah.
is a condition. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Which means
just,
Thank
there'll
you.
be you won't be battling because you're buying it below market value, basically.
yeah, so TSB's argument, so their mortgage distribution director has kind of came out with a statement under basically providing their rationale behind it. So it's called their 5 and 5
Yep.
concessionary mortgage.
It
So
is.
tenant gets a 5% discount on the purchase price of the property via you as the landlord, and then the buyer must contribute at least a 5% deposit themselves. So I think what that means is the lender will value it, I presume, on the purchase, on the actual market value, for example.
Yep.
Again, how that's going to work because valuers don't like doing that. So that'll be an interesting one how that works, unless they rely on AVMs. But again, that's a whole different minefield to explore.
Jake,
But
Yes.
sorry, what's an ABM?
So an
Sorry to
AVM is an
interrupt you.
automated valuation model. So the most popular one, the most well-known one is via Home Track. So have you ever done a Zoopla, how much is my house worth
yeah, miles
calculation?
out.
So that is that same software.
Miles out.
And but lenders, but some lender there's two main providers that do it. So lenders like Shawbrook, they'll use both providers and get one, and it basically provides what's called a confidence rating or a confidence score. And subject to what loan to value you're looking for, determines how high that confidence score needs to be. And that's basically the formula's confidence that that value is achievable. So if you've got a house worth 150 and you've put in 200 as the value, that will come out with like a 2 confidence score. Lenders want it to be 4, 5 plus, realistically. But a lot of high street lenders will use it. So when you come to do a remortgage and you're going to a new lender, but no physical valuation has ever taken place quite often, it's because an AVM has been used basically in the background saying, yeah, looks close enough. There's enough equity for us to take that risk on ourselves.
So
And they
in
just drive
reality,
by, make sure it's still standing.
yeah, in
Yeah.
reality, this could play right into the hands of landlords that are looking to exit the market.
Yes. The argument is
Tenants in situ.
basically by offering that 5% discount through to the tenant, basically the argument is, well, you're saving 1 to 2% on estate agent selling fees, as well as paying several months of mortgage interest whilst the properties are empty, because a lot of landlords prefer the property to be empty because it makes it easier to sell the property to maximise what you can get for it. So that's the argument basically, and it's helping customers, helping obviously renters essentially get a 10% deposit, but
Yeah.
just not actually. It's just through that
Physical
5% discount.
5%, but 10%
I
in.
like I like the kind of ethos behind it. I like the message behind it. It's Skipton last year they released their track record mortgage products. So so tenants don't even have to provide a deposit, or I think a minimum 1% deposit if you can prove that you have rented consistently for at least 12 months, or I think 18 months. And as long as what you've been paying rental wise is less than the mortgage payment, they can give you a mortgage with just a 1% deposit.
Is more
Very
than the mortgage payment,
interesting.
not less, surely. Their rent.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
So you've been paying 12.50 rent for sort of 18 months, and the mortgage calculation works out that you can borrow 160, and it will cost you 11.50 per month.
Yeah.
So that's £100 less than you've already proven you can afford. They're happy
Yeah.
to lend. So
Finally.
great
Fine.
idea.
Finally.
It makes perfect sense, and that could solve. I mean, you look at the market now. There's a huge percentage of property with tenant in situ, and
Yeah,
this
I know
might
my
get
next
that
door
market
neighbours.
going.
I know my next door neighbours, they pay £1,425 a month. I'm in Essex, Clacton in Essex. So they're paying a 3-bedroom semi-detached house built in 2013. So we know it's not going to be a big one. I live in the identical size house next door. Thankfully, I've put an extension on the back of mine. Otherwise, there's no way in hell I'd have my dog and my 2 kids in this house. But yeah, I know they're paying, I think, just around about 1,425 a month. Now, to put it into perspective, when my mortgage increases to obviously updated rates later in this year, my mortgage is going to be around about £820 a month. So I'm thinking, how on earth have they got 3 children and are paying already basically £600 more than me, as well as still having all the other commitments, council tax, bills, etc., an extra child to feed? How on earth are they expected to get on the housing ladder? It's just not possible. But that's why these products are coming into play
Yeah.
to help that. And a few more lenders have come out with some more schemes. I think Accord, which is the intermediary only lender, part of Yorkshire Building Society. They came out with another one. I don't know the exact ins and outs off the top of my head, but it's a similar kind of helping people with minimal deposit.
That's really good. So finally, someone's actually thinking, okay, they've already proven that they can pay their rent, and they've been doing it consistently for such a long time that they're going to be
Yeah.
able to pay the mortgage. So
Let's stop relying on Bank of Mum and Dad.
yeah, that's great.
Absolutely, yeah. With 2 sons, I think Bank of Mum and Dad is closed as of today.
They no
Immediately,
longer need any financial assistance.
immediately closed. Yeah.
Superb. Thank you so much, Jake. As you can
That's
see,
right.
is a mind of information. He's just great. So if you, Jake, please put your contact details into the chat so people can hook up with you.
Yeah,
If
no problem.
you've got any questions as we're going along, then please put them in the chat and we'll answer them. We'll keep checking back and make sure that we answer your questions, or you can just wait to the end and we'll have a big Q&A sesh.
I'm just going to ask one more question of Jake with a yes and no answer. So, with the looming potential interest rate cuts or mortgage rate cuts, should I say, is it worth for people that are actually looking at a purchase right now or a refinance hanging on for a little while? I know you want the business right now, but is it worth?
No, that's the thing. I get this question all the time, and I've probably been one of the most common questions. The most common one is, do I do 2-year or 5-year? That's been the most common one over the last kind of 18 months, all considered like the tracker products. All depends on your circumstances. If
That's
you
not
found
a
a
yes or
property,
no.
if it's personally, no. I always say no, because if you lock in on a rate, I know you only wanted a 1-word answer ideally, but I say no, because if you're purchasing something, if you get an offer accepted now, chances are, due to how outdated our conveyancing system is, it's going to take 3 months, maybe more. You will benefit from if rate drops do happen in that time. 95% of lenders will allow you to update your mortgage offer to any improved rates they're offering. So always best to lock in, because that can be your worst case scenario. in case anything like the budget happens again and rates spike, you could actually shoot yourself in the foot by waiting.
Wonderful. Sue has put a question in there, but if we can wait just sort of till later at the end of the show, that'd be amazing because Jake is going to hang around, so he can get prepared for his answer.
I've got some short news.
Yeah, so yeah, Neil has actually we sat a really great information gathering webinar on Monday. It was quite awesome speaking to people who are in the market, property investors, people that understand what's actually going on in that big wide world out there. So Neil does have some market news. So over to you.
Well, hang on, let me get prepared. Where is it? So there was a really interesting, interesting article today on the BBC. I don't know if anyone's seen it, about the target of 1.5 million new homes in the next 5 years, which means the majority of the local authorities are going to have to increase their new build production by 400%, which obviously isn't going to happen. But the interesting thing is the BBC have got hold of this and they've decided they've built their own online platform that means you can track this in your own area to see how it's performing. So I've opened it up here. So you've got housing in your area. If I type in Colchester, for instance. So last year, the new targets for Colchester, and this isn't the surrounding areas, it's Colchester as a city centre, is 1,300 new homes this year. Last year, or in 2021, or since then, the new target, they built 950. So obviously there's a long way short. So they've got to increase this by 379 homes year on year just to hit this target. And it's not going to happen because you know that new builds are grinding to a halt because they're not selling. There's more and more going on the rental market now because they just want an income off their investment, as any investor does. It drills in even further. So of all the planning applications that were put in last year or year ending June 2024, 62% of those were approved for new builds, which is quite good. But what it doesn't tell you is how long it took and how many appeals they had to go through first to get there. So they might have been, these applications might have gone in 2023, but weren't approved till 2024. And then across the whole of England, that figure is 71%. So there is a big shift. So whether this is the local authorities been given a bit more power to push things through a bit more leniently, I don't know. But there is a shift certainly in the amount of approved new build planning applications. So that's something really good, especially for us as a business, because that's one of our main strategies this year is developments and conversions. So it's quite positive stat, I think, that so many are getting through planning. But like I say, the big key thing is how long is it taking and what's it costing you to get there, and how
Can
many.
you pop the link for that into the chat when you finish?
Oh my word! Yes, of course you can.
Segment? So any other news?
But you can type just figures really. House increase. Prices increased by 4.7%, house prices in 2024, which if you consider all the doom and gloom and the rubbish budgets, etc., the fact that they went up at all is quite amazing. But 4.7% is really good for any investors that are looking at capital growth. And economists, I mean, Jake declined to predict, but the economists, which was only announced yesterday, are predicting 4 interest rate cuts during or Bank of England base rate cuts during the year of 2025. And the target is to get to 3.75% base rate by the end of the year. So if that goes that route, we should see some better mortgage products available. But that's predictions. It's not fact, is it?
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, yeah. Social housing, we'll ask this at the end, but I'm interested on the products, if there's many products available for social housing now, because it should be getting more and more, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
We had a very, very interesting meeting with East Suffolk Council about temporary accommodation, didn't we? And Lowestoft and Felixstowe, because they all fall under the same council, although they're like 100 miles apart. Well, not quite that far, but they're crying out, absolutely crying out for properties, and they'll pay over the LHA rates, and they'll take them on long-term contracts, and they're fully repair insuring, no voids, guaranteed rent, no management fees. So it could be a good strategy to get into, but Felixstowe is apparently one of the worst in the East Suffolk Council that's desperately in need of temporary accommodation. So that could be a good area and a good strategy to target.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So yeah, so I think my advice to you all is just focus on your own thing. Don't listen to the news. Don't listen to all the doom
Only
mongers
our news.
out there. Oh yeah, absolutely listen to
Well,
us.
it's our news,
But
obviously.
yeah, but the media, because they absolutely love to hold on to negativity. People just seem to thrive on the negative thoughts. They never see the positive stuff out there. And our job as professional property investors is to stay focus on our own economy and just keep pushing forward and understanding our numbers so that we have got our decisions are calculated. We're not doing it on a whim or because you think it's going to be a great deal. Our job is to make sure that we absolutely know our numbers, we know where we're heading, and we just are super laser focused, and we just carry on, and let all that noise just be behind us and just let it wash over us. So yeah,
I'm
so
just
it's exciting. I think 2025 is going to be super exciting.
So I'm just going to just quickly share, because I've been playing about with this tool that the BBC have developed. So I've just put in East Suffolk Council as an area, and to achieve their target, they're going to have to build 1,644 new homes a year. And over the past few years, they've averaged 830, so 50% short of target. So find some land and build, basically.
Is that your big tip?
That's
That's
my
your big
tip of the
tip.
day, yeah. Right, I'm just going to try and share this as well. So you carry on and
Oh, are you going to share screens?
oh God, no.
Oh, okay.
No.
Just the URL, the domain
Yeah.
name. Okay, brilliant. Okay. So, well, this week, I think the chat this week really, because goal setting is always a massive thing at the start of the year. And to actually, it's all right just setting your goals. It maybe you're thinking about them, but it's actually about writing them down and putting it out there to the universe. If anybody's hung around me for a while, they'll know that I'm a big believer in the universe and that you have to tell the universe what it is that you want, and the universe will bring it to you. But she makes you go through some challenges. She makes you earn the right to have the things that you want. But part of it is by being focused, putting it out there, telling people what your goals are. So something that we've been really working on is by actually being, putting it down on paper. One way that we sort of put down our goals on paper is we use a big whiteboard. For us, spreadsheets are no good. We have to see it day in, day out, and we have to do it very roughly as well. So we basically have the dream figure. So we get a whiteboard in the middle. We just put the figure that we want to achieve. So this year our figure is £1.5 million. So we have 1.5 million in a big circle in the middle of the whiteboard, and we just do different spurs of how we're going to achieve that. So we have multiple streams of income, and we just work out what we're going to get from each segment, and then we just work backwards from there. And we find that it's just the easiest way to it's very visual, and just to see as well, if you break it down into chunks, it's a lot easier to see how achievable it actually is to get you to that desired goal at the end of 2025. So we've got sourcing, flips, we'll have assets that we'll hold. We've got our service accommodation units as well. So we know now where we are heading for the end of 2025. And it's about not trying to focus on everything all at once. It's about doing it in tiny chunks. So every quarter we'll be focusing on something in particular or working towards something that's going to reap the rewards in the next quarter. So if it is deals that you're looking for, if it's more contacts you're looking for that can bring you money, can bring you those deals, start thinking about who you need now in your network so you can start building on those relationships, so you can start forging, those business contacts so that the next quarter you can actually start utilizing and reaping the rewards of making them. Service accommodation is big for us to do that, to get that really moving, because it's been a bit rocky end of last year has been a bit rocky with service accommodation. So we're really forging ahead so we can reap the rewards and really keep a really close eye on our numbers as well. Go on, Neil.
Well, it's interesting that you touched on that because Nigel's asked a question, which is how do HMRC differentiate between serviced accommodation and furnished holiday lets? Well, the answer is, which you may correct me on, it's if you provide other services. So if you provide linen or you provide breakfast or anything like that, that becomes serviced accommodation. If you provide nothing at all, just a room to sleep in, that's furnished holiday let.
So furnished holiday lets is like an apartment, but people have to take their own linen and they do their own cleaning. But if you are providing the service of linen, of towels, of cleaning, then that's when it becomes service accommodation. So furnished holiday lets is literally a furnished property with nothing. They have to do all their own cleaning, washing, linen, they take their own and bring it back home again. Service accommodation is if you offer a service of sorts.
Absolutely.
The reason why I asked the question is because 4 years ago, I think it is now, we sold our business, which was a furnished holiday let. So we did the tax return of furnished holiday let. We paid entrepreneurs business tax relief, capital gains tax at 10% rather than 28%, because, as I understand it, they classify furnished holiday let accommodation as a business. Buy to let they don't classify as a business.
No, that's right, because buy to let is somebody's home, somebody's residence.
So are they differentiating then? Are they differentiating now?
The tax changes are changing in 2025 on holiday lets, though, where it used to be seen as a trading business, they're now essentially, from a taxation perspective, like the mortgage offset and everything like that is now in line with what you get as if it was a buy-to-let now.
So they're effectively saying that
a limited company
let is not a business then?
Yes, personal name I don't think is affected as much, is it? I don't believe.
But if you put in a cost for linen, then because I mean we used to it was holiday let, so people would go down for the summer for a week, 2 weeks,
But you provided linen.
Charge for linen.
So it's serviced accommodation because you provided linen.
We didn't provide linen, actually.
So that
We
means
didn't.
But you've put a cost for linen though. So then
we didn't put a cost for linen. We didn't when we did it.
Right.
That was 4 years ago because they brought their own. So we just so I classify it as service accommodation. Yeah. So you've got to be a bit more careful going forward.
Yeah, absolutely, you have. Yeah. Which brings us nicely on to something that we got involved in and listened to on Monday. And I'm pretty sure there's no one online that actually is implementing this strategy of rent to SA. Very, very interesting. That the mortgage companies, Jake might know this, the mortgage company are now using bots to go searching through all the OTAs, the online travel agents, to see if properties are listed on there and they've got the wrong mortgage product on them.
Yes. It's not massively spoken about, but yes, it is. It's there.
Yeah, but it's becoming very, very prominent, and they're using it all the time. And you can get as little as 7 days to repay that entire mortgage if you're not careful, if they recall it.
HMRC are doing it as well,
Yeah,
for people not paying
absolutely.
tax correctly and stuff like that. They're doing it to search for people that have incorrectly claimed bounce back loans and stuff like that during COVID.
Yeah.
There's teams and AI and stuff like that all built in now to be able to run through bank statements and everything like that to basically fish out people's fraudulent claims.
But that sounds like it's very negative, because let's be serious or honest about this. 99% of those that are doing rent to SA won't have the right mortgage product on them. 99% of them guaranteed. There's an option to switch products, obviously, and you can honour the cost of that to the landlord, but 99% of those that are doing rent to SA are probably doing it with the wrong mortgage product on it. But that doesn't mean there isn't a market for rent to SA, because there's at least 50% of those that are unencumbered, so they're mortgage free. So there's still an option to do rent to SA. You've just got to be very careful and make sure you do all your due diligence. Do you want to elaborate on that at all, Jacqui?
Sorry, I was just busy putting our link for our networking in the chat.
Yeah, and as you put in the chat, it's the same for HMOs, rent to HMOs,
Yeah.
exactly the same.
Something that we hear a lot, because we mentor it, and not just for our own clients, but we mentor for another big training company as well, is that people are unsure of that they're going to buy a property and they're like, well, I might have it as a buy-to-let, or I might do service accommodation. And it's like, you cannot have that might. You need to be buying it for one reason and one reason only. It's fine. Hopefully this is right. This is my thought process. Jake, correct me, please, if I am wrong. But if you have an SA mortgage, then you can switch it back to a buy-to-let, because the risk is less. What mortgage companies see is that HMOs and service accommodation are higher risk. So you have to, every time you buy a property, you have to be thinking of it from the mortgage provider's point of view. The same with valuing what you're going to use it for. So don't go into a property thinking, oh, I'll change my strategy halfway through, because your numbers rely so heavily on the strategy that you have chosen, because your mortgage product is going to be different if you change halfway. Everything, your refurb, all your costs are going to change if you change from a buy-to-let to an SA. It's going to be far more expensive. In everything that you do, it's going to be far more expensive. So your numbers may not work. So you need to make sure that your exit plan is decided before you've even purchased that property. Do not change your mind. If you're on the wrong product, then and you get caught, like Neil was saying, you have got a matter of days, or you're before you have to pay that money back, or you're forced to sell that property. So yeah, be very, very careful and very calculated in your purchasing.
And
if you do it right, do it well, do it right, do it well, do it right, do it well, then you're not going to have any problem. But it's when you're being wishy-washy and you think that you can change your mind halfway through, you just can't do that. You might as well just do it, do it properly and do it well, is my advice to anybody who wants to do any of the strategies, but always have that. It's all right to have 2 exits just in case, which is usually, rental's great to fall back on, to sell is great to fall back on, but don't switch between like a buy-to-let or a HMO or an SA. Have that one, make that decision and stick to it. That's my advice. My little lecture is over. Okay, have we got any questions in the chat that we need to go through, or have we answered them throughout?
Not a detailed written response, but happy to talk through it. And I'm just adding the last bit of to answer those questions regards to the difference between products. Are there different products between serviced accommodation and holiday lets, etc., compared to normal buy-to-lets and everything?
Superb.
yeah,
What's the approximate additional cost for service accommodation versus buy-to-let in a limited company? 1%?
Typically, I normally say to people around about 0.5% up to 1%, subject to the type of location and value of that holiday let, basically. So there are lenders that do offer some good holiday let products. Certainly in personal name, there's some like building societies. For some reason, there's lots of bespoke building societies that for some reason love lending on holiday lets, whereas high street banks less so. But limited company wise, it again also depends on what affordability calculation you want it worked out on, because some lenders, if it is as I said here, where the products differ, holiday let products are for properties that are in tourist locations, so coastal towns, rural counties like Lake District, Yorkshire Dales, all those kind of typical touristy countryside places, but as well as kind of bigger cities and towns that have a tourist demand for like sightseeing, concerts, events, etc. So they can be viewed as having a holiday let demand, and therefore what they will allow is for affordability to be based on your proven holiday let figures. Or more often than not, what they'll do is get you to get a holiday letting agent within the area to provide you with the letter just confirming what the low season, mid-season and high season weekly rentals are for that property. So high season is obviously Easter and summer holidays. Mid-season is the non-half term kind of summer months and spring months, and then the low season is obviously winter or November time and everything like that. They'll then you obviously work out what that average is, and if you work off that average over a 30-week period, that's what most lenders will work off of. However, there are some that will do 32, some even all the way up to 40-week average. Now, the benefit of that is you'll quite often then end up getting a higher affordability calculation. That's the whole reason we convert a property into a holiday let, because it's going to produce a higher yield than the standard rental agreement. So 50% of lenders in the holiday let space probably will go down that holiday letting rental figure. Others will just, to be on the safe side, say if that property doesn't work as a holiday let and you want to make sure that you can cover your mortgage, what would it rent out for on a standard 6-month AST? And they will assess affordability on that basis to make sure that you're covered if it doesn't work as a holiday let.
So that actually, goes hand in hand with what we teach within our system. What we've implemented ourselves since we started in this is every deal you've got, you make sure you've got 2 exit strategies. But the exit strategies can't be, oh, I'm going to do buy to let. If it doesn't work, I'll do SA. You've got to have, I'm going to do buy to let. If it doesn't work, I'll flip it. Or you're going to do SA. If it doesn't work, I'll resort to buy to let, the normal AST, to cover its costs so it washes its face. So you've always got to have 2 exit strategies for every deal you get into. So you've got a safety net.
100%.
Your safety net really could be LHA rates, because that's your worst case scenario.
Yeah, because you know that there's always a demand.
Which is local housing authority, just in case anyone isn't up with that. But yeah, so you always make sure that whatever happens, it can wash its face, and you can cover all your costs.
100%.
What I always say on the holiday let side of things, just to add in terms of the low, mid and high season, now lenders don't specify which provider you have to go to. So if you are trying to maximise the affordability on a £500,000 property that on a standard AST can only get you a 250k mortgage, to make sure that the affordability is maximised, I always recommend, same as when you get a quote for a builder, anything, it's always best to kind of get 3 options. And that's why I always try to provide quotes from 3 or 4 different lenders or 3 or 4 different product types, just so you haven't got that niggling doubt, is there anything better? Now, the key thing on the holiday let, when trying to get a holiday let mortgage with maximum raising and maximum affordability, go to 3 holiday letting agents and just provide me with the letter that has the highest figures, or provide me with all of them, and I've just got to provide the one that's got average rent across the average weekly rentals 1,200, 1,400 and 1,600. Well, I'll submit that 1,600 a month one, because that eliminates that risk from affordability then.
Perfect.
Super. Who knew like mortgages could be so interesting? I love it. I love it.
I thought you were going to say
Fountain of
exciting
knowledge.
then. I thought you were going to
It's
say exciting, and I'm still not excited. I'm sorry.
you understand how, just you get all the nitty gritty. That's why it's so amazing to turn up at events like these, is because you get the proper information. It turns into numbers to actually the understanding and the learnings of how to, be that professional and make the most out of the property that you're buying. And can you believe
A quick follow-up question to the 30 weeks, I think you said, Jake. So typically 30 weeks. So that's 60% occupancy roughly.
Yeah,
60%.
they work off of a lot of lenders will work off of that harsher
Of
contingency.
what though? You've got three figures. You've got high, medium, and low season.
Yeah, so they do the average across the low,
Average.
mid, and high. So
Average.
low is 600, high is 1,000. So low is 600, medium season is 800, but the high season is 1,200. So you do 600, add 800, add 1,200,
for yourself his
divide
own
that
calculation?
by three, not minus three,
The
divide
average.
by three, and then that will be the weekly average they use. So in that case,
Okay.
it's 866.
Okay.
Over 30 weeks, comes out at £26,000 per annum is what they're thinking your gross amount will be. And the reason they do that is A, to allow for occupancy, avoid obviously when you haven't got
Fluctuation.
anyone but any bookings, but equally the cost of running it, cost of so.
So we can give you a classic example of that on the first essays we purchased, and we bought on bridging because we needed to refurbish them. And then we went over to obviously go onto a mortgage, and this was 5 years ago now, there weren't many mortgage products about for SA. So we originally got a valuation of 180,000 on these two apartments, which is ridiculously low. But
It's
then
one of the only successful valuation appeals I think we ever had in terms of getting the lender to apply higher affordability or something, wasn't
well,
it?
we actually went to a different valuer.
Yeah.
We paid £1,000 because we were that confident with a different valuer. But actually, what happened is because we'd had at this stage about 4 months of continuous bookings in them, and then we'd got a 12-month forward booking as well, that really showed the affordability was there and what we were turning over. And actually, the mortgage broker at the time come back to us and said, "I need to buy some of these. These cash flow well, don't they?" So, and we got a valuation of 230 off the back of the cash flow, the revenue. So, we got an extra 50K, which meant we got all of our money out of the deal. So it's all about evidencing what you want to, achieve, really.
Everything about property is about having proof and evidence, and that is, you can't make up figures. It is about evidence, and it's
Facts, yeah.
to back it up. Absolutely. Well, can you believe it? That's an hour
Oh no, where's that gone?
already. Oh my God, it's been amazing. Jake,
Time flies when you're having fun.
thank you so much, Jake, for being with us today.
No problem.
Your
Can
input
anyone,
is
very quickly,
absolutely valuable.
is there anyone online that isn't part of the WhatsApp community? Because they can reach Jake through that if they join the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put the link for the WhatsApp in the chat, so please do hook up with any of us. We're all in that chat, so if you haven't yet joined, then please do. Contact each other outside of the WhatsApp as well. So it's another form of networking. You can book yourself in 15-minute, 20-minute calls with each other and really build and grow your own network outside of Moneytree Mastery, which I'm a massive advocate of.
And next week, I'm going to make sure that Jackie's unplugged her electric chair.
Oh yeah, it is. Now, just before we go, we are looking for, or we have an opening for 5 people to come into our elite membership. So if you have got the property knowledge, but you're just struggling with action and getting results, and you really want to smash 2025, then this is your opportunity to come into the inner circle, get the benefits of being in that close-knit community. You get additional learnings, but they're useful. So it's just building on what you know already. It's a bit about being accountable, and it is about being with a group of people who are really achieving and their success is already building momentum. So if you want to come in to the elite membership, I have popped a link. There is an opportunity through there to book a call for us, or if you just want to hop on and join the elite membership, then we'll pick it up from there. But yeah, if you need us, find us in the WhatsApp group, and we'll see you 12:30. Oh, not next week. Week after, 2 weeks between this one. We will see you in 2 weeks' time at 12:30. I don't think Jake's going to be on that
We're
one.
going to spend 3 days with our mentor next week.
We
So
are, yes. We won't be
we'll
here
come
next
back
week.
fully
But
refreshed, fully motivated, driven, and very, very well educated.
100%.
Further educated.
100%. So we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. And he said 2 years. 2 weeks' time.
Excellent. See you later, everyone. Thanks for the time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks for coming along.